So some of my friends have asked me in the past, how do you find time to paint and draw and do all these things when you have a job? And I'll be completely honest, I think the most important thing is that your day job doesn't take up too much of your mental energy. You know, like you just have to make time for your art. The reason I'm able to do that is because I have a job that's not too stressful, that allows you to still have some energy to spare when you're back home. There have been times where I had to like spend all my energy and waking hours into writing resume, applying for jobs, because I was in this mental state where, okay, if I don't get a job within like X amount of time, I'm going to be in big trouble. Even though I had more time technically because I didn't have a job tying me down, I never really got to paint or create anything. And I'm a firm believer that creativity comes from a place of abundance. People love to talk about like, oh, Van Gogh, he was like the epitome of like this whole struggling artist trope. And the thing that I like to point out to people is that Van Gogh's art that we know of, that we love today, a lot of those, I wouldn't say all, but a big portion of his pieces that people love so much were created during his times of recovery. They were not created during his deep period of depression. If you ever struggled with mental health, you can't just like pull yourself out of that super easily and just start being super productive. I got really lucky, found a job that pays well. Before I got into this career, I got so frustrated with art and having such a hard time making ends meet that I became anti-artist. I felt like that whole talent, this whole like artistic talent that I had was in a way a curse because, you know, anytime I didn't do it, I felt torn and like I felt sad and depressed. And then anytime I did pursue it, I was also struggling financially. And so that's why I keep saying in all my videos that the last 4 years I've been focusing on my career and I haven't really done much art. And now I'm getting back into it. And the reason I'm able to find the courage to even get back into art and start pursuing it more seriously is because I don't have to worry about Maslow's chart, like human needs, where I have roof over my head. I have food on my table. I can afford to do some fun things here and there. I can afford to take a vacation every now and then. On top of that, now I am in a stable relationship. I'm engaged, meaning that I have like more of that solid support system within like my home life, right? I have my partner who's like there to support me. I think all of that is crucial when you talk about how you're like able to do this while you have a full-time job. Once you have all of that like basic stuff taken care of, I think it just becomes so much easier to just commit to something and doing it. There are days where I come home exhausted and, you know, I make dinner and then I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm going to bed. But there are more days than not where I'm not completely drained from work and I just have this desire to, you know, go back to my roots and start exploring my art and my creativity more. So I'll be like painting for a couple hours before work starts, especially on remote work days. I also just wanted to show you how I set up my studio like workstation for my acrylic. And this is all like very new to me because like I said, I don't really normally do acrylic. So I recently got this palette set where you put down, it's like a little sponge here and you soak it in water, right? You just soak it, run it through water, cold water, and then you like squeeze out the water a bit. I don't squeeze too much water out of it just because I do live in Arizona. It's really, really dry and things just dry a lot faster. So I think I leave a little bit more water in here than people typically do in other parts of the country. And then you also buy another like thin layer of like white palette paper that sits on top of it. And then that one you also have to soak in water for 20-30 minutes in hot water. And what it does is it kind of prevents all of your acrylic paint from drying out like immediately as soon as it's out of the tube. And it lets you keep the paint moist for a little bit longer. And what I love about that is, especially when you're not a full-time artist and you have other responsibilities in life, like a job, you can like put your palette down, put a cover on it, and come back a couple hours later and the paint is still wet and you can still work through it. So I highly, highly recommend. Find a system or a setup for your studio space where it doesn't take as much work to get started. Because I feel like starting something usually takes up a lot more energy than continuing, right? Because once you start, there's that momentum that's built up and it's easier to stay in motion versus if you have to like set up a new palette every single time, then, and you're already tired from like a work or a shift, whatever you had to do earlier, or maybe you're like hanging out with your friends and you came back and you're exhausted from talking for 3-4 hours. That happens a lot with me too, because I'm a talker. It's just so much easier when you have everything that's ready to go. And that's like part of that. That's like one of the many ways that I try to make up for it. And also, this is another thing that I'm just now learning, but if you have a busy schedule, don't start a gigantic painting. I literally just started a painting a couple weeks ago. It's now officially been 4 months since I started this painting, and obviously I wasn't painting all 4 months, but I feel like it would have been done a long time ago had I started working on a smaller canvas. So I would say that's another tip. If you're working and you're trying to like find time for your art, I feel like the satisfaction you get from actually completing a piece also helps you feel more motivated. It's kind of like a bit of a dopamine hit. Like whenever you finish a piece, you're like, oh, I did that. That looks so good. And then you use that to start the next piece. And if you're working bigger, unless you're trained to do that and you have that like routine down, it's hard to like push through and push it through the finish line. And also once you're done with it, like you're so exhausted from like 4 months of working on a same painting that sometimes it might be like you just don't want to paint for a little while, which is also totally fine. One thing I like about being an artist with a full-time job is that your income doesn't depend on your creativity. Like you don't have to make a painting and like try so hard to sell it because you're not reliant on the sale of your art to pay the bills. So that's another huge, huge, huge bonus that I feel like people don't normally talk about. And I find that I'm a lot less stressed about what I'm painting. Now it's more of like self-expression. Well, I just want to see what happens when I layer the paint this way, or I just want to see like, or try out this new color palette. Lately, I found myself steering away from color palette, color combinations that are considered conventionally pretty and trying ugly color combination, but then somehow they look good in my eyes. I'm just kind of in that phase right now where I'm just like, ooh, this really dark blue and this muddy brown and bright orange, like I think they look good. I don't care because I'm not making it for anybody else but for myself. So that's another huge perk about being an artist with a full-time job. So this right here is how I soak that top layer of that palette paper. I don't know like what's a good name to call it, but that's basically the paper or the palette where the actual paint will sit on. And this is like a bathtub full of really hot water, and then I'll let it sit. I'm going to set up a timer for 30 minutes and then come back and check. And what you do at the end of that 30 minutes is take it back to the palette and put it on top of that yellow sponge that you just saw. If you find this in your local art supply store, just get yourself one of these palettes. Set up a 30-minute timer. 30 minutes. All right, cool. And this is what the packaging looks like. Wait, no, this is the name of the brand. This is the refill pack. And the nice thing about this, which I didn't know in the beginning, is that these palette papers are reusable. Same as that. So don't be like me and toss these papers because they're kind of pricey. You can always re-soak them and continue to work it. Once the paints on here completely dry out, then you'll have to get a new one because you can't like throw them back in the hot water and reactivate. I mean, you can, but it still stays a little bit wrinkly. I know because I tried it. One of this palette paper is going to last you forever. So get one of these. I know it's a little pricey, but just know that they're gonna last a long, long time. My desk is a disaster right now because I got all these like bunny pieces out that I'm going to quilt with this canvas painting in the future. The plan is to stitch these bunnies and use the bunnies as like kind of like a framing piece and quilt the whole thing. This painting is gonna turn into a quilt because that's like the latest hobby that I got myself into, sewing and quilting. I'll also show you on the screen. I made a quilt for my nephew a few months back for his like second birthday, and he loved it. It's like a bee themed. I have honeycomb and bees flying around. Yeah, learn a new skill this New Year's. I don't know. This video is gonna be very chaotic, I can already tell. I'm just talking about everything and anything that comes into my mind. So it's gonna be very interesting trying to edit it and title this video, because what's the topic of this video? I don't know, everything. Fridays are also usually a good day to catch up on some of your house chores. Also, I need more magnets for my fridge. And I'm thinking now, maybe I should make my own magnets. Let's see how that goes. Look at this. I just got back from my allergist office and I just wanted to show you. What is this? They're reacting like crazy because it's a stronger dose every time. I have a Christmas party that I'm hosting next week. So in about an hour, I have to go grocery shopping, get all the stuff that I need for that party. And in between me like making rice wine and preparing for the party, I'll be able to continue making this painting. I really want to get to a point where I'm like stitching together all the bunny pieces, because that's, I feel like, where the fun really begins with this piece. Anyways, time to paint. Ta-da! Do a little touch test. Boing, boing. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, this looks and feels like it's been properly soaked. So I'm going to very quickly, there's a little piece of hair. Oh, no. Get rid of that hair. And I'm just going to very quickly bring this to the room. Let's go. Move, puppers. Move. Oh, it's like dripping water everywhere. Ta-da! And that is how you set up your palette. Can you see my palette? Pick it up just ever so slightly. Adjust it, make sure it fits, and make sure there's no wrinkles. And voila! That's my acrylic palette. And I am actually going to put some paint on here. This is my paint drawer, where I keep all my stuff. It's mainly the bottom two. I have all my collection of colors here. Titanium white, every artist's favorite color. But I actually prefer zinc white over titanium white, because titanium white sometimes just feels a little bit too opaque and heavy. And I just like that light glow that you get from a zinc white, and it's also like a little more transparent. Titanium white is an opaque white. Zinc white is transparent. The benefit of using zinc white is that it doesn't dull down the colors as much as titanium does. And the problem with titanium, which actually you can use it to your advantage, is that sometimes it kind of makes your painting look a little bit chalky and like too dulled down and pastel-y, but like you kind of want to be careful with that, because unless that's the look you're going for. I have so many yellows. Oh my God. Let me just, there's another one. Wanna take a wild guess what my favorite color to paint with is? I thought it was red, but my paint collection tells me something a little bit different. Let me actually get all of the yellowish colors out of here, and let me just tell you. This is more orange. Okay. And this is all just from the bottom drawer. There's my zinc white. Because I love it so much, I got a giant bottle of zinc white. And I can't really see how much I have left in there, but I'm pretty sure I went through it pretty quickly. And this is just an acrylic medium, matte medium. Anyways, back to yellow paint. There isn't too much of it here. This is mostly blues. So I guess that's what I did last time. But it's still kind of ridiculous just how much yellow I have. Diarylide? What? Diarylide yellow? I use this yellow a lot. I just don't know how to pronounce it. I have yellow ochre. A bigger yellow ochre. Another big tube of yellow ochre. They're both like decently used, so I couldn't even pick one to start with. Cadmium free yellow light. Primer yellow. I don't know, I can't tell if the camera is actually picking up on this. Cadmium yellow medium pure. Can you see? I hope you can. Cadmium yellow medium from a different brand. It's ridiculous. Oh, look, I have another diarylide yellow, but in a smaller tube. Look at that. Would you look at that? CP cadmium yellow medium. I don't know what that CP stands for, but I have it. Cadmium yellow light. This one's all like used up, so I feel kind of good about it. I like it when I see that I've used up the color a lot. It's not a good feeling whenever I find a paint tube in my box and like I don't even remember when I bought it, but it's like barely used. It makes me it makes me mad. It makes me sad that I could have spent that $20 on something else. Indian yellow hue. It's actually, I'm surprised I only have one of these because this is actually one of my favorite colors to use in oil color. So I used to do a lot more oil color and I used to do a lot more oil painting, and this is like my really, again, very ambitious acrylic painting because I was like, well, acrylic's like less toxic. You know, I don't really have a good ventilation in this room other than like I have to open up the window, but I don't really like to do that. So I was thinking like, how can I make sure I don't poison myself with all the like terpenoid, whatever you name it, Gamsol. And I thought maybe I need to give acrylic a try again. And that's how this project came about. So I'm still not sure if all these colors that I'm seeing in acrylic, if they behave the same way as the oil paint color. Like if I have Indian yellow in oil painting, I know that those pigments are usually a lot more transparent. So I use that color more to glaze over things versus with an acrylic, I don't know if it's a transparent color, if it's a more opaque color. What happens if you mix it with certain colors? Like how does it behave? I don't really have as much data on that front just because I don't really use acrylic that much. So it's a lot of like learning that I need to catch up on with acrylic. I also have this fluorescent yellow, and unfortunately I never use this one. I like the idea of using fluorescent paint. So I actually have one in almost every color. I have this neon green, I have a neon orange, and I know for a fact if I dig in a little bit more, I'll find all kinds of crazy colors in there. I just don't use acrylic or haven't used acrylic that much. And I'm surprised that I even have this much acrylic paint to begin with when I used to hate acrylic so much. And I think it's slowly growing on me, but it's still not exactly my favorite medium to work with. But I'm just gonna keep trying until I change my mind. I'm determined because I'm done inhaling all these toxins knowingly. Because I genuinely feel like, you know, during like my 4 years of college, I didn't really care about toxins and chemicals, even though like their professors who like warned us against it. I was like, I don't care. It doesn't affect me. I'm special. I'm immune. And then I feel like there were countless times where I kind of boxed myself in a tiny studio room in a studio apartment with no windows open, no air or no fans, no ventilation whatsoever. And I'll just be in there painting oil for days. And honestly, real talk, I feel like it kind of affected my memory a little bit. I have a really bad memory issue. I don't know what it is. Sometimes I'll like look at something or see something like, okay, I need to remember that. I cannot afford to forget it. And then I turn around. And as soon as my body goes from this direction to that direction, it goes. Like I forget that I'm even forgetting something. It's just completely blank. So, you know, if you at least have a feeling like, I feel like I'm forgetting something, what is that? That's still better. With me, it's like, you know, it's just like, oh, like I'm having a great time. This is a great day. And then, I don't know, maybe on the day that it's due or like whatever it is, it doesn't occur to me unless I get myself into a situation again where that information becomes available to me again. And I'm like, oh, wait, I forgot about it. Hi, Blue. Blue came to say hi again. Don't step on the paint, please. But anyways, I need to put some paint. Oh, don't step on it. Don't step on it. Don't do that. He's such a sweet dog. He's a COVID puppy. I got him during peak COVID. And before getting him, I used to get panic attack so frequently, almost every other day. And that I didn't necessarily get him to help with the panic attack. I just got him because I felt a little bit disconnected from the world. I felt lonely. But then the huge benefit from having him is that I never had a single panic attack since getting him. At least not the ones that are like noticeably bad. I would sometimes get like a little bit of anxiety attack here and there, but not to a point where I'm like, I am about to die and like completely freaking out. Not a single one. So he saved me. He saved his mommy. Yeah, but I need to get this all set up. Let me see. What colors do I want? I want cadmium yellow. Diarylide yellow. It sounds like I'm saying diarrhea. Am I saying that correctly? Does anybody know? Does anybody know how to say that correctly? Please tell me, because I feel like I'm mispronouncing it, but I don't know the right answer. And I'm going to have burnt sienna, primary magenta. Ooh, that is one of my favorite red colors. Permanent rose takes the lead though. This is my favorite paint color. I like it even more. And then since I have a cold red, I need some warmer red. So I'm gonna put cadmium red hue. Anytime you see the word hue in there, that means there's no actual cadmium, but they use different ingredients to mimic that cadmium red color. So the vibrancy of a color might be a little bit dull, a little bit more dull, but it doesn't really matter for this painting because I've like muted down the colors so much already. So that's not going to be a problem. And of course, you can't do anything without ultramarine blue, my longtime favorite. I also have 2 things of permanent rose colors. I need to stop buying the same colors over and over. See, like the thing, I think the problem is with the way I'm storing things. I might have to get one of those like wall piece where you like hang up, like display all your paint so you know exactly what colors you have, what you don't. That's probably a really good thing to have in terms of like managing all your colors. I have primary cyan, so I think that's a good cool and warm blue I got there. Ivory black, a must-have. Zinc white. I'll have zinc white and a little bit of that titanium white if I can find it. Did I put it back in? Oh yeah, right here. Almost fully used up, but I'm pretty sure that I have another thing of white just because I just tend to collect a bunch of colors and paint. Oh, there it is. Surprisingly, I'm not seeing too many titanium white. I think because I've had so many times where I would be like looking for a titanium white and then there are like 5 tubes all half used. I've like dealt with that. I dealt with that so many times that anytime I go to an art supply store, now I actively stay away from buying more titanium white. And I think it's working because I really see one titanium white that's like almost done and then another smaller tube, and that's all I see. I don't see any other titanium white. So I'm proud of myself for that. Before this palette dries out, I'm going to put out all these colors and then I'm going to put the lid because I know I'm not going to be able to paint right now. So I like to put, I don't know if you can see this. This might actually be interesting seeing how other people arrange their palette. I like to put my titanium white in the corner on the lower left so it stays away from the rest of the colors. Oh, this one's like really at the end of its, oh God, it's so ugly. Also, if you prefer seeing really neat palette, you might want to close your eyes for a little bit. I'm not that person with like one dollop for each color. I'm just whatever. I just throw the colors on there and see what works. Cadmium yellow medium. So I usually start from yellow and go through the color wheel essentially. So it'll be like red, warmer, warmer, warmer. Yellow, warmer, 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 red, blue, and then black on this corner. Okay, won't open. Okay, this is that diarylide yellow. Diarrhea yellow. But it is a warmer yellow than the other one. I'm gonna put this, sorry, I'm not going in order, but I'm gonna put this ivory black here. And then I'm gonna put my red colors. So I'll start with cadmium red hue because it's a warmer tone. Ooh, okay, this is primary magenta. Oh, such a pretty color. Then I have my favorite permanent rose right here. See how it's a cooler, darker, more muted tone? this is what we got so far. That's all of the reds. I'm also going to squeeze out a little bit of this burnt sienna because why not? It's a beautiful color. And I will move on to my blues. So, of course, I'll start with primary cyan. Primary cyan. Again, it's a warmer blue. This is not a color theory class, but if you want more videos on color theory, let me know in the comment. I'll be happy to do that. A little tutorial, little mini class. Why not? And again, ultramarine blues, a little bit warmer. And that is all the color I got here. So as you can see, I'm clearly a lot heavier on this side because these are the colors that I really like. And I actually have a fair share of like variety of blue colors, but since I already have so many yellows and reds, I'm trying to be a little more reserved with the blues because I don't like to have too many colors out at once. And I'm not going to put zinc white on there just because it's like a very watery, it spreads a lot wider. So I want to like put them on the palette as needed. And then just put this cover on. And what I also like to do is I get some water in a spray bottle and then I'll spray it across the palette every couple hours to kind of help the palette maintain its moisture a little bit better. I think it doesn't hurt to have too much water in there as long as it's not like a river.